Hello again. Today is Thursday, November the 7th, 2013, and it's about 2 o'clock my time. And I've got several things that I want to talk to you about, and it'll take some time. I hope that those who will come across this video will be willing to sit through the extended amount of time. I'll do my best to try and break it up into parts. That way it's not one long video and can be viewed in segments. But I'd like to try and keep it all together, but it's several things all in one video. That's my point. Of course, we've just concluded Election Day 2013 as of a few days ago. Would say congratulations to all the winners. Sorry to all the losers, but there's some things up in the air, folks, concerning Election Day 2013, and the fallout from it has only just begun, as the old Carpenter song used to refrain. But it's troubling to me. They're still counting, or they're recounting in several races. New Jersey is in question as far as the gubernatorial race is concerned. Mary Bono, or forgive me, Barbara Bono, get her confused with former Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack, California Democrat Congresswoman. I don't know if she's related to her or not, but I could be. But Barbara Bono has raised some issues, and is continuing to raise some issues that basically 5 minutes after the polls closed on election night, race had already been declared for Christie as of the quote unquote exit polls. All of our exit polls indicate. All of our exit polls tell us. Voters have told us. We've done a poll of the poll, and of the election day poll, and Christie won. So that's it. It's over. It's done with. Chris Christie is the declared winner. Now it's time to officially get underway as far as 2016 is concerned, and the 2016 presidential election cycle. We haven't even concluded with this process, and this process is into question, and it will continue to get deeper into question because they're still counting votes, or they're recounting votes, okay, in New Jersey and also in Virginia, okay. You've got an attorney general's race that is dead even, okay, as far as the polls are concerned there, and counting recounting is going on now for that, but yet they're able to decide the gubernatorial race and the lieutenant governor's race, and also the little known or little reported Secretary of State's race in Virginia. I don't even recall ever hearing that the fact that there was a Secretary of State's race in Virginia, or that even being reported. And then down ticket races. We talked about that. I talked about that last time. It's a full slate. It was a full slate of candidates. But yet, Terry McAuliffe is the winner in Virginia. Chris Christie is the winner in New Jersey. The Tea Party sucks. Democrats rule. Republicans rule. Whatever. Okay? Not so, folks. Just hold it just a minute. Okay? Let's recount everything from the beginning, the middle, and the end before we decide this electoral process. And that brings me to an interesting point. I could care less for one Charles David Todd, also known as Chuck Todd, NBC News' political director. Chuck Todd could not find his butt with both hands and a flashlight and instructions. Yet this guy was hand-picked, a hand-picked successor of the late great Tim Russert. God bless him, rest in peace. Tim Russert, political. Okay? Win, lose, or draw. If Tim Russert said that the sky was blue and that the grass was green, Guaranteed, etched in stone. You can walk out the door, write it down, put it in a book, mark it up. It's correct. Okay? This guy, though, Tim Russert handpicks him, selects him to succeed him one day. One day. To succeed him one day. He says, Chuck Todd, I see in you talent, ability, insight, analysis. You're young, you're hip, you're up and coming. You've done some things for Democrat Senator Tom Harkin in Iowa, particularly on his 1992 presidential run. You did great things there. You're doing some great work online. The internets are coming up. We've got great blogging, great emailing, whatever. Okay? You're young, you're up and coming, you're hip, you're now. And I want to pick you, I'm going to tap you on the shoulder, and if you'll come with me, kid, I'll teach you some things, I'll learn you some things, and I'll set you up, and when I get ready to step aside, to stand aside, and say, okay, I'm done, I've done all I can do here, I've accomplished all that I can accomplish here, I'm done. It's yours, Chuck Todd. You can have it, because by then I will have trained you up in the way that a child should go, so that when you are old you will not depart from it. I believe with all my heart, mind, soul, and spirit that Tim Russert was under medical duress then, in the late 90s and early 2000s, when he tapped Chuck Todd on the shoulder and said, come work for me. I want to teach you something. I believe he was under medical duress then. The old saying goes, we die a little every day. But I believe with all my heart that he was not in his right frame of mind by picking Charles David Todd to come to work for NBC News, NBC Universal, NBC GE, NBC Comcast, NBC Marvel, NBC Xfinity, okay? Comcast NBC. And ultimately, Shaquille O'Neal. And that's the funny thing, too. Shaquille O'Neal publicly and privately endorses Chris Christie to be the next governor of New Jersey, to run for re-election, get re-elected, and become again the governor of New Jersey. Yet he has controlling stock and interest in Comcast Xfinity, sits on the board of directors for Xfinity. Xfinity writes now and signs the paychecks for NBC. NBC Universal, NBC UHD, Telemundo, Bravo, Style, the whole bit. Shaquille O'Neal has controlling say and interest in the comings and the goings of NBC, and in particular NBC News, where Chuck Todd works and runs the political department for NBC News. It's a funny thing to me that Shaquille O'Neal is somehow allowed to publicly and privately endorse a candidate for political office, for high political office, yet he's still able to sit on the board of directors for Xfinity, NBC, Comcast, Universal, the whole bit. No conflict of interest there. No cause for question there. I don't hear it. Instead, I hear voters in New Jersey, supposed educated, well-informed, up on the issues going on in New Jersey, being interviewed left, right, front, and center, saying, well, we voted for Chris Christie because Shaq is cool with Christie. Shaquille O'Neal is cool with Christie, and so therefore that's cool with us. These are supposedly informed and educated and upfront and center voters in the state of New Jersey casting a vote for an elected representative because some former sports star said, hey, it's cool with me, so it should be cool with you that Chris Christie be your next governor. With all due and proper respect, and I'm going to try and refrain from not cussing here, but with every fiber of my being, I want to cuss some people out. Okay? They it's for crap, folks. It's for crap. And that's why the fallout from this election cycle that was just concluded will continue. Because the fix is in. And it's been in for a long, long time. Chris Christie, whoop-de-doo, he's paid his dues, he's next in line. He kissed Willard Mitt Romney's tush, put up with his happy horse crap. He's due. Whoop-de-doo. Okay? What do you think that the political process is all about? It's about rising and falling on your own merits, standing on your own 2 feet and presenting your cause and saying, this is what I'm about. Okay? And you can either support that or not support it. But yet, Shaq endorses it, so it's cool. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, God bless him, going gangbusters, wonderful. Gives all kinds of money. Chris Christie's re-election campaign comes up from New Jersey, into New Jersey from California, campaigns all over the state with him, does his thing. Don't see anything wrong with that, but the fix is in, particularly over at NBC. Don't have any use for Chuck Todd. Certainly don't have any use for Phil Griffin, who runs MSNBC for NBC. These 2 men have no business anywhere in or near a newsroom, a production facility, a building in which television is put on. Whether it be news, whether it be sports and entertainment, whether it be educational, they have no business. Phil Griffin and Chuck Todd have no business anywhere near NBC. And they should be removed from their positions post haste. But the powers that be, namely Shaquille O'Neal, don't have it within them to do that. It is much easier and much more simpler to just go along to get along. Oh well, this guy is due, that guy is due, they're up next. They've put up with all of the happy horse crap, and they've done everything that we've asked, so they're due. They're due. They're due. What rhyme or reason or thought of sane, rational understanding would a human being or a set of human beings set with one good eye and a straight face every day and say they're due? This one's due. Let me tap this one on the shoulder because they're due. Let me give this one the position because they're due. Let me give this one the credit because they're due. No. You rise and fall on your own merits. You stand and deliver on your own merits and your own ability. Leave our political process, our day-to-day, or whatever alone. It's none of your business. Do not interfere with it. Do not touch it. Do not delay it. Do not withhold it. Do not deny it. Because you think somebody somewhere is due. And because you have the quote-unquote power to decide that. So, Here's what I'm doing. I'm calling out Shaquille O'Neal. I'm calling out Phil Griffin. And I'm calling out Chuck Todd. And lastly, I'm calling out Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy is the executive political director. Online mainly, he works with Uncle Dick Wolf on MSNBC Online. Okay, the political side of it. Really, the whole damn thing is political. Okay, it's an informational arm, an informational tool for the two-party duopoly in this country. Okay, but Mark Murphy is the executive online political director, so I'm calling him out too. Okay? None of these people that I've just mentioned have any business anywhere near. Let me repeat again for the sake of clarity and emphasis, they have no business or rhyme or reason anywhere near a television production facility. To be asked, to be put in charge, to be tapped on the shoulder, to be due. They have no business, and they should be removed entirely from their spots for undue and unneeded influence. They have directly interfered with our political process and our day-to-day, and they do so on a daily basis, and that's wrong. So I'm calling them out, publicly and privately. Resign now, gentlemen. Leave your post now while you still can. Or be removed by force, if necessary, be removed from your positions of power. Resign voluntarily, step down, step aside voluntarily. There'll be no problem. The $64,000 question is who else within the sound of my voice and the viewing of this video is in agreement with me? Who else? Now, moving on. Speaking of MSNBC, NBC Universal, NBC News, NBC Comcast, NBC Xfinity. Dateline, Texas. A lot going on in Texas. Whole lot going on in the state of Texas right now. NBC, for about 36 to 72 hours, MSNBC, NBC News, was askew with a ruling that had been delivered by the Fifth Circuit from out of the state of Texas, where two judges, two women, appointed by George W. Bush to be judges on the Fifth Circuit, said that it was okay for the state of Texas to enforce a law that Rick Perry had signed limiting short-term and late-term abortions in the state of Texas. Planned Parenthood, Nancy Richards, the late great Governor Richards, Ann Richards' daughter, former governor, Democrat governor of Texas, first woman governor of Texas ever. Rest in peace. But Cecile Richards, who runs Planned Parenthood and who is also sits on the board of directors for NARAL Pro-Choice America, and also Karen Finney, who is the host of MSNBC's weekend show Disrupt, sits also on the board of directors for NARAL Pro-Choice America, wink wink, nudge nudge. They're all askew, Rachel Maddow too, all askew over the fact that these two women judges have said it's okay. They've said that the law that's on the books that the Texas state legislature and ultimately Governor Rick Perry signed into law to limit late-term and short-term abortions in the state of Texas is okay. That's a problem, though. And for 72 hours prior to Election Day 2013, MSNBC was awash with this ruling. They had a fit. Okay? Rachel Maddow led the parade. She led the cavalcade of complainers and adders and detractors and takeaways. And George W. Bush caused the Iraq War, caused Afghanistan. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. 9/11's an inside job, but we don't really want to espouse that theory because it might stir up the conspiracy theorists and the 9/11 inside jobbers. Oliver Stone might want to come on our network next week and talk about the Kennedy assassination, about 9/11, about all the other things. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge, tongue firmly in cheek. George W. Bush lied and thousands died. Bill Clinton lied and nobody died. Okay? And George Bush is evil and he's vile and he's nasty and he needs to be tried for war crimes. War crimes. Let's talk about war crimes. Let's talk about the leadership. I'd like to read you something. It's found in the book of Luke, the Holy Bible. Luke chapter 20, starting in verse 20 through 26. Jesus is speaking regarding paying taxes. Jesus' enemies kept watching him closely because they wanted to hand him over to the Roman governor. So they sent some men who pretended to be good, but they were really spies trying to catch Jesus saying something wrong. The spies said to him, "Teacher, we know you teach the truth about what God wants people to do, and you treat everyone with the same respect, no matter who they are. Tell us, should we pay taxes to the emperor or not?" Jesus knew they were trying to trick him, so he told them, "Show me a coin." Then he asked, "Whose picture and name are on it?" "The emperor's," they answered. Then he told them, "Give the emperor what belongs to him and give God what belongs to God." Jesus' enemies could not catch him saying anything wrong there in front of the people. They were amazed at his answer and kept quiet. The set to concerning George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney, former president and vice president of these United States, being brought up on war crimes, has been adversely affected by one current and sitting president, Barack Hussein Obama II, based on this directive, H.R. 6620-28 USC SOS 2679, and I'll read it for you. It's a doozy. Bear with me for just a moment. There it is. Read an article. This comes from HuffPost Politics. It's dated for November the 2nd, 2013. The title of it is as follows, and I'll link it. Obama Protection Bill. Former presidents and family members granted Secret Service watch. And I quote, The measure Obama signed Thursday applies to presidents elected after January 1st, 1999, and in particular George W. Bush. It reverses a 1994 law that ended Secret Service protection 10 years ago, and through the Department of Homeland Security Secretary could extend such protection on a temporary basis. A sponsor of the bill, Republican Representative Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, says increased youth of former presidents made the change necessary. In other words, past presidents are living longer. The new law also authorizes Secret Service protection for the children of former presidents. The bill is H.R. 6620. It amounts to a get-out-of-jail-free card, more clearly defined. And I'll read it in part. This is H.R. 6620, signed under the 112th Congress, and or more succinctly, former President's Protection Act of 2012. Quote, begun and held at the City of Washington on Tuesday, the 3rd day of January 2012, an act to amend Title 18 United States Code to eliminate certain limitations on the length of Secret Service protection for former presidents and for the children of former presidents. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Former President's Protection Act of 2012. Section 2, eliminating certain limitations on the length of Secret Service protection for former presidents and for the children of former presidents. A. Former Presidents - Section 3056, Title A, Section 3 of Title 18 United States Code is amended by striking unless the former president did not, and all that follows through warrants such protection. B. Children of former presidents - Section 305-56A, Title 4 of Title 18 United States Code is amended by striking for a period, and all that follows through comes first. Signed, Speaker of the House of Representatives John A. Boehner, Republican, Ohio. Vice President of these United States of America Joseph R. Biden, Democrat, Delaware, and the President of the Senate, Majority Leader Harry S. Reid, Democrat, Nevada. Now, let me read for you Title 18. 18 U.S.C. SOS 112, Protection of Foreign Officials, Official Guests, and Internationally Protected Persons. By the by, this comes from Cornell University, their law school online. www.law.cornell.edu/US code/text 118/112. Current through publication L113-36. See Public Laws for the current Congress. A. This is the doozy. Whoever assaults, strikes, wounds, imprisons, or offers violence to a foreign official, official guest, or internationally protected person, or makes any other violent attack upon the person or liberty of such person, or, if likely to endanger his person or liberty, makes a violent attack upon his official premises, private accommodations, or means of transport, or attempts to commit any of the foregoing, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both. Whoever, in the commission of any such act, uses a deadly or dangerous weapon or inflicts bodily injury shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both. We'll skip through here a little bit. As I said, I'll post it all. Skip down to Section F. In the course of enforcement of subsection A, and any other sections prohibiting a conspiracy or attempt to violate subsection A. The Attorney General, in this case, one Mr. Eric A. Holder, Jr., the Attorney General may request assistance from any federal, state, or local agency, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, and any statute, rule, or regulation to the contrary notwithstanding. Since George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney left office in January of 2008, they've had their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors threatened nearly every day. Even while they were in office, even after 9/11 happened, while the Iraq War was going on, while the war in Afghanistan was going on. By the by, and for the sake of full disclosure, initially I supported and I worked for and I helped get elected George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney. I used to be a Republican. I'm a liberal Democrat, with the word liberal in giant big bold letters and a small Democrat in small lowercase letters. I have a very independent streak. I question a lot, continue to question. My mind, my eyes, my ears have been opened, folks. But George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney have nearly every day had their lives threatened in some way. They've also had to go through lawsuits or the attempting to be sued. This is what brings up or what invokes H.R. 6620, and which Barack H. Obama II signed not too long ago, this very year. Article: Department of Justice requests grant of immunity to Bush and Cheney, from intelhub.com. Department of Justice, this is the title, Department of Justice requests grant of immunity to Bush, Cheney, and other criminals for war crimes. The Department of Justice requests that George W. Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Paul Wolfowitz, and Richard Cheney be granted immunity for war crime prosecution. The article was written by a gentleman named Cassius Methyl, intelhub.com, on August the 26th, 2013, and it's regarding a formal lawsuit. On August the 22nd, I read for you, on August the 22nd, the United States Department of Justice requested, okay, that comes from Mr. Eric A. Holder, Jr., the Attorney General of the United States of America. He requested formally and publicly and privately as well. President Barack H. Obama II, we got an issue. We got a problem. And then once more, Republican Representative Trey Gowdy of South Carolina joined in on the merry band because he thought it was warranted. And MSNBC and the powers that be at MSNBC have a problem with that. But it's far more easier for them to cry and gripe and moan and complain and get people that don't know the difference one way or another to tune in to their programming, to listen to them cry and whine and moan and complain how mean and nasty and rotten and god-awful George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney are and still are. Ratings, folks. Ratings. But getting back to the article. On August the 22nd, the United States Department of Justice requested that George W. Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Paul Wolfowitz, and Richard Cheney be granted immunity in a case alleging that they conspired and planned the Iraq War and overthrowing of Saddam Hussein, and then used 9/11 as the trigger to wage the war, violating international law. Not too long ago, MSNBC had a special on a book titled Hubris. It was written by, I forget one gentleman's name, but the other gentleman's name, David Korn of Mother Jones, co-author. It's a big to-do about hubris and the selling of the Iraq War. And here we have all of these presidential directives and these movements and these shakings and the bolstering of Title 18 and the War Crimes Act and all that. And I'll read that. We'll get into that. It's going to be a few. The plaintiff, continuing with the article that I'm just reading here, the plaintiff was an Iraqi single mother and refugee now living in Jordan. Sundus Shakar Salih. In a San Francisco federal court, she filed a complaint claiming that the conspiring and waging of the war constituted a crime of aggression, in quotes, against the people of Iraq. I just read war crimes. Let me read war crimes here. This is Title 18. Offense. Whoever, whether inside or outside the United States, commits a war crime in any of the circumstances described in subsection B, which is circumstances, and I'll read, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned for life or any term of years or both, and if death results to the victim or victims shall also be subject to the penalty of death themselves. Circumstances. This is the key. The circumstances referred to in subsection A are that the person committing such war crime or the victim of such war crime is a member of the armed forces of the United States or a national of the United States as defined in Section 101 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. As President of the United States of America, George W. Bush, of course now Barack H. Obama, Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces. The same, we're getting back to the article, the same exact kind of complaint finally prosecuted the Nazis after World War II, the Nuremberg trials, but with the U.S. government granting them immunity. It seems the U.S. government would probably use force against people trying to prosecute the former tyrants. So who knows when they will be brought to justice. All of these people who might be granted immunity were found guilty of multiple war crimes in Malaysia a while ago. They held a war crimes trial overseas not too long ago in Malaysia. They found them guilty. But they are being prosecuted by the current tyrants in power. This is a quote from the DOJ. Department of Justice. The DOJ claims that in planning and waging the Iraq War, ex-President Bush and key members of his administration were acting within the legitimate scope of their employment and are thus immune from suit, said Chief Counselor Indar Kamar. That means that these people are criminals defending other criminals, a clear rejection of reality. The lawsuit alleges that 1. Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Cheney, and Paul Wolfowitz began planning the Iraq War in 1998 through their involvement with the Project for the New American Century, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit that advocated for the military overthrow of Saddam Hussein. Now, they've been trying since the late 90s to get rid of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had to be got rid of. Never mind the fact that the CIA put him in place, helped get him in there, helped get him elected, helped get him in power. He's got to be overthrown now because he's getting too big for his britches. The lawsuit alleges that Rumsfeld, Cheney, and Wolfowitz convinced other Bush associates to illegally invade Iraq, abusing 9/11 to manufacture consent, using fear to draw the American public into supporting a war. The lawsuit alleges that the United States failed to obtain UN approval before the invasion, rendering it a criminal act of Impermissible aggression. Forgive me. I wanted to read one last final thing from this article. The good news is that while we were disappointed with the certification, we were prepared for it, Chief Counsel Inder Kumar said. We do not see how a Westfall Act, this is what allows people in government to be immune from suit, seizure, fine, imprisonment, etc. And I'll read for that also, for you also. I'll go ahead and read it for you now. If I can find it, bear with me. Here it is. That is, Westfall Act is found under Title 28 USC Code 2679, Exclusiveness of Remedy. The authority of any federal agency to sue and be sued in its own name shall not be construed to authorize suits against such federal agency or on claims which are cognizable under Section 1346, subsection B of this title, and the remedies provided by this title in such cases shall be exclusive. I'm going to read for you part of subsection B. Money damages by reason of the same subject matter against the employee whose act or omission gave rise to the claim or against the estate of such employee. Any other civil action or proceeding for money damages arising out of or relating to the same subject matter against the employee or the employee's estate is precluded without regard to when the act or omission occurred. In other words, federal government, to the people of America, if you have a complaint, keep your mouth shut. We can't be sued, we can't be touched, we can't be threatened, we can't be coerced, we can't be intimidated. We messed up though, here's some money. Shut up and go away. The good news is that while we're disappointed with the certification, we were prepared for it, said Chief Counselor Inder Kumar. This is the Chief Counselor representing this Iraqi woman in this formal suit against George W. Bush, Richard B. Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice, and Paul Wolfowitz. We do not see how a Westfall Act certification is appropriate given that Ms. Salah alleges that the conduct at issue began prior to these defendants even entering office. Because as I read for you previously, Donald Rumsfeld, the lawsuit alleges, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Cheney, and Paul Wolfowitz began planning the Iraq War as far back as 1998 through their involvement with the Project for the New American Century, in quotes, a Washington, D.C. nonprofit that advocated for the military overthrow of Saddam Hussein. Some would say that that's a front for the CIA. I don't know. You're welcome to submit proof on this video. This is an open forum, open posting, post away. But getting back to Mr. Kumar's comments, we do not see how a Westfall Act certification is appropriate given that Ms. Salah alleges that the conduct at issue began prior to these defendants even entering into office. George W. Bush was still the then governor of Texas in 1998. Getting ready, gearing up to run for the presidency, in fact, had just been reelected as governor. Ran on that compassionate conservative constraint, being a uniter, not a divider. As a result, won the Hispanic vote, won the African American vote, won the Asian vote, won the Caucasian vote. Overwhelming majority Hispanic and African American vote in the state of Texas. I think the Nuremberg prosecutions, particularly American Chief Prosecutor Robert Jackson, that was the then prosecutor during the Nuremberg trials for the United States of America and ultimately the world, the free world, the late great Robert Jackson, would be surprised to learn that the planning a war of aggression at a private non-profit, misleading a fearful public and foregoing proper legal authorization somehow constitute lawful employment duties for the American president and his or her cabinet. He would be. The man worked to prosecute the leaders of the Nazi Party, those that were still left alive, not through no fault of their own. He would be immensely surprised if he were still alive. Getting back here, exclusiveness of remedy, as I read. So basically, federal government contends, keep your mouth shut, here's some money. Shut up, go away, don't bother us, you don't have any right to sue us. And even if you do have a right to sue us, we have to give you permission to sue us. And even then, we may not still let you sue us, or at least do everything we can to keep you from suing us. Hence, H.R. 6620. The Attorney General shall defend any civil action or proceeding brought in any court against any employee of the government or his estate for any such damage or injury. That's if you give permission, you get permission from the government to sue. So Eric A. Holder Jr., the Attorney General of the United States of America, now and forthgoing, if the lawsuit goes through, which it's being blockaded at every turn, and the chances are that it won't go through, but if it does, then Eric A. Holder Jr. is going to defend George W. Bush, Richard B. Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, Condoleezza Rice, and Donald Rumsfeld in open federal court. The words, "yeah, right," come to mind. But he's the Attorney General, so it's his job because it's the law. All process served upon him or an attested true copy thereof to his immediate superior or to whomever was designated by the head of his department to receive such papers, and such persons shall properly furnish copies of the pleadings and the process therein to the United States Attorney or the district embracing the place wherein the proceeding is brought, to the Attorney General and to the head of his employing federal agency. In this case, in the state of California, in the Northern District of California, the U.S. Attorney there is Mr. Richard B. Wagner. Richard B. Wagner and his office, as I speak right now today, are under criminal investigation for their involvement in Operation Broken Trust. Operation Broken Trust was having to do with the largest national Ponzi scheme ever wrought in the United States of America, second only to Bernie Madoff and his Ponzi scheme. One of the largest, involving nearly every state in the Union and the largest real estate Ponzi scheme ever. And in the state of California, it was titled Operation Sandjob. And the federal agent, the FBI, that was in charge of the criminal investigation for Operation Sandjob is currently also under federal investigation as well. Okay? His name is Richard M. Snodgrass. And he's employed in field office for the city of Sacramento and Sacramento County. He was in charge of Operation Sandjob / Operation Broken Trust for the state of California. He spearheaded that for the U.S. Attorney's Office for Richard B. Wagner. They're under criminal investigation. Yet, should this lawsuit go through, his office and ultimately Eric Holder's office, because Eric Holder is his boss, will be in charge. And they will then, in turn, represent George W. Bush, Richard B. Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, Condoleezza Rice, and Donald Rumsfeld in federal court in San Francisco, California. But, because of H.R. 6620 and President Obama's signature on that, and Troy Gowdy's bolster of that under Title 18, and under the Westfall Act here under Title 28, the lawsuit's not going through. It's being blockaded. It's a nice, neat little package. It's, we're in charge, we run the show, we tap whoever we want on the shoulder, who we think is due, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yet, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, Karen Finney, NARAL, Pro-Choice America, Planned Parenthood, hoop, holler, all you want. Okay? Decree and declare elections. Shaquille O'Neal, you want to declare for Chris Christie, go right ahead, no problem, no big deal, no question of integrity there. Never mind. It's a game, folks. It's a big game. It's a big club. And you ain't in it. You and I are not in this club. It's an exclusive club. It's an elite club. No one's allowed in it but the powers that be. But somehow, because Shaquille O'Neal could dunk a basketball really, really good, and could look cutesy-tootsy on TV and sell some commercials, he financed and he finagled and he callywagged and he cajoled his way up into this club. So there's no conflict of interest. Chris Christie won in New Jersey. Terry McAuliffe won in Virginia. Tea Party loses. GOP loses. Democrats rule. Republicans rule. Tea Party sucks. Okay? That's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. I'll read one last thing for you and we'll close. It comes from the book of Acts. Acts chapter 5, starting in verse 30. The Apostle Peter is speaking. He's preaching. This was when he and the apostles were very first arrested, just a little after Jesus ascended back into heaven. You killed Jesus by nailing him to a cross. But the God our ancestors worshipped raised him to life and made him our leader and Savior. Then God gave him a place at his right side, so that the people of Israel would turn back to him and be forgiven. We are here to tell you about all this, and so is the Holy Spirit, who is God's gift to everyone who obeys God. They were before the council of the Sanhedrin when they said this, when Peter said this. When the council members heard this, they became so angry they wanted to kill the apostles. But one of the members was the Pharisee Gamaliel, a highly respected teacher. He ordered the apostles to be taken out of the room for a little while. Then he said to the council this: Men of Israel, be careful what you do with these men. Not long ago, Theodius claimed to be someone important, and about 400 men joined him. But he was killed, and all his followers were scattered. That was the end of that. Later, when the people of our nation were being counted, Judas from Galilee showed up. A lot of people followed him, but he was killed, and all his followers were scattered. So I advise you to stay away from these men. Leave them alone. If what they are planning is something of their own doing, it will fail. But if God is behind it, you cannot stop it anyway, unless you want to fight against God. The council members agreed with what he said, and they called the apostles back in. They had them beaten with a whip and warned them not to speak in the name of Jesus. Then they let them go. Let me repeat that. The council members agreed with what he said, what Gamaliel just said, and they called the apostles back in. They had them beaten with a whip and warned them not to speak in the name of Jesus. Then they let them go. Emphasis on being beaten with a whip and being warned not to speak. The apostles left the council and were happy because God had considered them worthy to suffer for the sake of Jesus. Every day they spent time in the temple and in one home after another. They never stopped teaching and telling the good news that Jesus is the Messiah. That comes again from Acts chapter 5, verse 30 through 42. I'll just close with this. We've got hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have signed petitions, online petitions, to have people arrested and tried for sedition against the United States of America. Thousands and thousands of people. But because of this club, because of this exclusive club that the people that I just mentioned earlier belong to and are a part of, the chances of it being honored are slim and none. So therefore, it then stands to reason that the petitions need to be honored by force. It's unfortunate. It's not right. It shouldn't be that way. They should just be honored. Everybody wants everybody removed from office. Democrats want Republicans removed. Republicans want Democrats removed. Fine. Then remove them. Okay? But if you're going to remove one, then you need to remove all. But the club is speaking. The club is meeting. The club is callywagging and cajoling and getting together and plotting and planning. And what can we do? How can we hook? How can we crook? How can we callywag? How can we cajole? How can we cry, whine, moan, complain? Yet at the same time, keep one another safe and secure. Because we know we've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that want us out of office. And they're breathing down our necks nearly every day in some shape, form, or fashion. They want us removed. They want us out of office. Even those within the power that be want us removed. Ergo, Ted Yoho of California, who wants to impeach Eric A. Holder Jr. as the Attorney General of the United States of America. He vows a vow. This is the the first domino in a long line, in his words, of people that need to be removed from the Obama administration. And the last domino, the big domino, is Barack Obama himself. Let's have it. Let's have the public discourse. If there's no there, there's no problem there, there's nothing to it, there was no war crimes committed, nobody was hurt, harmed, or put in danger, let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. What's the fear? What's the problem? Why is there the need to advise and extend and bolster rules and regulations that are already on the books, and already enforced if there's no there? There's nothing to it. Why not let this supposed lawsuit go through? Okay? There's nothing to it. Then the woman will be disproven. She'll be proven false. She'll be proven incorrect. She'll be disproven. And she will be laughed out of federal court. Unfortunately, but she'll be laughed out of federal court. Why not let the process play out? Let's see where it goes. Okay? But I believe that it's become necessary now. And people have every right to do it. You saw an example of that here not too long ago. Adam Kokesh, okay, of Alexandria, Virginia, went to Washington, D.C. with a loaded weapon to present choice. Yeah, they put him in jail for 4 months and he just got out, but he's suing the federal government, or attempting to sue the federal government, and also bringing about the need for jury nullification. If you're not going to pay me, in other words, you want me to serve on a jury that's public duty, I'm all for it. I've served on many a jury in my life, federal, state, and local. Love jury duty. Love the process of governance. It's a beautiful thing when it's done properly. The United States of America can and could be once again a great and mighty nation if the powers that be that we elect, that we put into office, would just follow the rules, follow the regulations. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your mind, your eyes, your ears open, and your duties and responsibilities that you were hired for, that you were elected to do. You won't have any problems. There won't be any needs for petitions. There won't be any need for armed rebellion. There won't be any need for insurrection. Won't be any need for sedition. Won't be any need for quote-unquote high crimes, misdemeanors, treason, whatever you want to call it. Won't be any need for a section of the northeastern corner of Colorado to vote to secede from the Union and form their own state, to have a 51st state. 7 of 11 counties that were supposedly involved in that ballot initiative all agreed that they wanted to go and form their own state. Now it has to go through the process. The Colorado legislature, the governor has to look at it, and then it has to be kicked up to Washington, D.C., and ultimately the President of the United States. And there's no real guarantee that he will agree to do that he will agree to allow that to happen. And hence, the fact that he and others may not agree to allow to have impeachment proceedings done. Okay? That he's doing and has been doing everything he can to protect the club. Because the club is more important than you and I. Never mind the rule of law, the rule of regulation, proper authority, due process, Search and seizure warrants, never mind that. I own you, I run you, I tell you what to do, where to go, how to be. Keep your mouth shut. And if you got a problem with it, tough cookies, here's some money. Shut up and go away. We don't want to hear anything from you. We don't want to hear anything about you. We don't care what you want. We don't care what you need. We don't care what you desire. We're here. We're in charge. We run things. You do what we say. Not right, folks. There's something that needs to be done, and you know what that something is. The $64,000 question I'll ask again is, who is in agreement with me? Per this video, per the sound of my voice, who is in agreement with me? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.